is a text from someone else that got forwarded to me, but a lot of areas is in it first. I want to see a little finesse in favor of like, I don't know if that's the person or not. If they got put on here yet or not.
All right, it is 9:02, so go ahead and call the meeting to order. And I guess the first item on the agenda is public comment.
And we have none.
Okay. So we'll move on to consent agenda. Commission may request for a consent agenda item to be moved to the regular agenda for presentation and public comment. Otherwise, the consent agenda will be considered on one vote. All items on the consent agenda have been recommended for approval by staff with no opposition received to date. Since some items on the consent agenda may require a public hearing, the commission will accept public comment on any item on the consent agenda in one public hearing. We have any comments on the consent agenda or any discussion?
Staff has one. The agenda is incorrect. It's June 16th minutes. The minutes are correct, but the agenda is incorrect.
Okay. So with that correction, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve with the correction of the agenda stating June 16th.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Consent agenda passes, and we will move to the regular agenda. First item on the agenda is the vice chair election. So does anybody have any nominations or?
Yeah, Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we select Brittany Davis as our vice chair for this committee.
Okay.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Candy and a second by Liz for Brittany. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All right, so I'll go ahead and call for a vote on the motion to elect Brittany as vice chair. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Brittany, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, next item is subdivision plats. Planning Commission has final authority for approval. Appeals may be directed to City Council. First item in our subdivision plats is PP 2503 and FP 2516, the canals at Lake Nasworthy. A request to amend the preliminary plat being 30 acres to create two lots, and a final plat, Lot 1, being 28.07 acres of the canals at Lake Nasworthy under General Commercial CG zoning district located at 6485 Knickerbocker Road.
Good morning, Ray Lineberry, lead planner. And we are doing both a preliminary plat and a final plat for this area. It is 30 acres. The preliminary plat is 30 acres. It is general commercial. It is located at 6485 Knickerbocker Road, SMD 1, Tommy Hebert, in the Nasworthy neighborhood. And then the final plat is 28.07 acres. Again, general commercial, SMD 1, Tommy Hebert, Nasworthy neighborhood. This is the preliminary plat. As you can see, this is lot 1, big huge lot, and then lot 2 is this little lot right here. This is the original preliminary plat. Oh, hold on. Nope. There we go. We are talking about this area right here. So they are amending this to make it a whole lot and then a second lot to encompass the road. And this is the final plat. It is just the big lot, and this is the bottom portion of it. This is lot 2 that will not be platted. Will not be final platted. So with that, staff is recommending approval on the preliminary plat. The only thing we ask is they revise the plat to dedicate the right-of-way on lot 2. And then staff is also recommending approval on the final plat with the 3 conditions that the tax cert, they labeled lot 2 as a remainder, so we asked that they label it as lot 2, and there is an easement that they need to show. Is there any questions?
Any other questions for Ray? All right, thank you, Ray. We'll open up for public comment on this specific case, if we have any.
The applicants are here if you have any questions.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for the applicants? All right, so we'll close public comment and have discussion or a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by Brittany and a second by Candy. Sorry, Linda.
You're fine.
Yes, we can do this all in one motion, correct? Okay. So motion is to approve the preliminary and final plat as presented in the agenda. So, with that, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes. 5-0. All right, second subdivision plat is FP 2513, Elsa Gare, Section 1, a request of final plat 49 residential lots over 9.066 acres within Baptist Memorial Retirement Community as to individually subdivide each home, a request for approval of a variance for right-of-way and paving widths on North Star Drive and North Gate Drive, a request for approval of a variance to not construct curb and gutter along East 18th Street and North Post Street, and a request for paving width along North Post Street. We want to go ahead and read the
Yeah.
next one? Okay.
And then after you read this one, if you would give the applicant a chance to come up and maybe request a waiver.
Okay. Next case that we'll discuss at the same time is FP 2514, Elsa Gare, Section 2, a request to final plat 136 lots over 47.288 acres within the Baptist Memorial Retirement Community as to individually subdivide each home or structure, a request for approval of a variance for incremental half of paving on North Main Street, and a request for approval of a variance for right-of-way and paving widths on all internal local streets. All right.
Mr. Russell, if you want to come up.
Do we want to go ahead and
We can present both of them first if you'd like to request a waiver afterwards, or you can come up and do it now, and we don't have to do the presentation for Section 2. It's up to you.
Good morning, Russell with SKG. I'd like to ask for maybe an indefinite delay, postponement for Section 2, and then we'd like to hear and have a discussion on Section 1. And so maybe I'll kind of go sit back down and let staff do their presentation. If y'all approve the delay of postponement of Section 2, then maybe we can have a discussion about Section 1.
Yeah, so I think the statute just allows a 30-day waiver, but I guess in between now and then, if you decide to withdraw it, you could do
Okay,
that.
sure.
Yeah.
Then the 30 days, and if we have to, we'll withdraw or request it as needed.
That's just Section 2 at this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chairman, I would recommend taking a motion on the waiver request, and then we can hear section 1.
Okay. We have a motion from anyone on the delay.
Make a motion, delay 30 days on section 2.
I'll second.
Okay, and a motion and a second to delay section 2. Any further discussion? I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, so we'll do a 30-day waiver on section 2 and discuss section 1. Austin?
Thank you. Austin Reed, Senior Planner. This was a pair of plats for the Baptist Memorial Retirement Community. It was split up into 2. Section 2 just received a waiver. Section 1 is the smaller of the 2. Final plat for 49 lots over 9 acres. Comes to you out of District Number 4, Patrick Keeley's district in the Paulland neighborhood. The zoning is a PD district, which was instated earlier this year, and then the vision plan here is neighborhood. Here's a look at the plat itself. It's kind of in a loop configuration serviced by North Gate and North Star Drive. These are currently private roads. They will be dedicated to the city as public local roads. And then this is really just to show you the building outlines. Some of these lot lines and street lines are out of date, but it's there for you. So there's a couple variance requests for this. North Star and Northgate Drive, which like I said are both coming in as new local streets, are currently paved at around 30 feet wide with 40 feet of right-of-way dedicated. However, with them coming in as new roads, they are required to have the full 40 feet of paving or 36 feet with sidewalk on one side and 50 feet of right-of-way. And then I've included there an image of both of those. It also does touch a couple roads to the outside of the subdivision there to the east, including East 18th and North Poe. So East 18th, which is a local street, is missing its curbing. North Poe, which is also a local street, is also missing its curbing, but it narrows down to about 21 feet where you see the picture is. So the curbing is going to be required on all of those, and then the incremental half of paving to 26 feet is required on North Poe. And that's section 2, so we'll skip past that. So our staff recommendation for section 1, we are recommending approval of the final plat, subject to 10 conditions and 3 notes, but when it comes to the variances, taking on these roads in a substandard condition would really represent a financial deficit for the city. So we are recommending denial of the variances for right-of-way and paving on both North Star and North Gates, denial of the variance request for additional paving on North Poe, and denial of the variance to not construct curbing on East 18th and North Poe. The conditions are as follows, number 1 being for your tax certificate, 2 being for your water mains and service connections, 3 being for your sewer mains and service connections, 4 being for the sidewalks on all road frontages as required by the underlying PD zoning, number 5 being for the improvement of North Star and Northgate with the paving or receive approval of a variance, number 6 being for the dedication of right-of-way on those streets or receive approval of a variance, number 7 being for the curb and gutter on East 18th and North Poe or the variance, number 8 being for the paving on North Poe or variance, number 9 being for your drainage study, and then number 10 being that they remove the entrance gates on North Star and Northgate because they're currently gated, and with them being dedicated to the public, they will need to maintain public access. So we have a couple notes as well. The first note is just for fire separation distance and fire rating if they're closer than they need to be. Number 2 being for fire hydrants and fire department access. And then number 3 just talks about a potential developer agreement that would need to be negotiated, signed, and recorded. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them. I think we all also do have a couple staff members who are ready to speak as well.
You got to get on that?
Sorry, out of breath.
Does anybody have any questions for Austin before we
Is the fire chief here? Because I do want to have him.
I see him there. in the
Okay.
back.
We'd have a representative from
Okay.
fire prevention here, yes.
Do I have any more questions for Austin?
Because of the denial and the 40 feet that's required for the streets, how easy is that going to be able to be done with sidewalks? I mean, is that a detriment to this request?
So let me go back to my pictures so you can kind of see what they look like there.
Well, I think we also would have Public Works help us answer that question, as they're the ones that maintain and deal with items in the right-of-way. Obviously, There's not a lot of front yards there.
Right.
The planned development that was approved prior accommodated for that. But again, I think Public Works probably would have the best advice for us as far as construction and maintenance when it comes to those streetscapes and sidewalks and things like that. And I know they have a representative here to discuss as well.
Well, what we're doing is, in this request, is we're making the roads to be a normal public road instead of a private. Is that correct?
That is correct. We look at these as they don't exist today.
Right.
And so they would be coming in new, just like a new subdivision.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody have anything else for Austin?
Thank
All
you.
right. Do we want to have city staff come up first, I guess, and make any other comments about the requests or the suggestions on the improvements?
Good morning.
Good morning.
City Engineer Kevin Pate, I'm representing Public Works as a department. Public Works rises in opposition to the approval of the plat and any variances.
Okay. Would you care to add any color to that?
Sure. Notwithstanding desire to bring it up to current standards, we don't feel we should accept it at this time.
Okay. Is that due to access or maintenance, or what's the biggest concern, I guess, on the city's
Yes,
behalf?
both that and other considerations. We're not in principle opposed to considering it at a future date, but at this time, the unknowns are too many for us to recommend approval.
Has the company that's taken over the development and is attempting to change the direction of this, have you guys, have they, other than sewer mains, fire hydrants, and those items, I mean, have they allowed you guys to do any more scope as to what the city cost is going to be down the road? Or, I mean, like, where are you guys in discussion with this, with them?
We're currently in the process of assessing all the ramifications if we choose to accept this.
Okay. And how long do you think that will take just to get your cost assessment together?
Well, it should have been ready by 7:30. A week, 2 weeks, maybe.
Okay. So are you in preference of delaying this for 30 days like we did on section 2 and have a rediscussion, or like you guys are just flat opposed?
At this time, we oppose the approval of any of the plat and variances. We cannot, as staff, my understanding is I can't request you guys delay this.
Sure.
At all, so.
Okay, thank you.
And then Public Works, Executive Director of Public Works is here. Do you have anything you want to add to this?
Shane Kelton, Executive Director of Public Works for the city. One of the biggest reasons, I mean, this was, developed as a private development and doesn't meet any of our standards, our normal standards. And so that's one of the things that we want to ensure as we look at this. I mean, there's a lot of things that we start looking at maintenance and think about maintenance on down the road on this. Not only are we taking on a lot of streets, we're taking on new water lines, new streets, all of these things that we'll have to work through and go through all those processes. But then you also look at the outside of it, where all the fences are around, because it's a gated community, so there's fences. In the ordinance, each resident will be responsible for maintenance out to the edge of the pavement. Well, if you have fences and you don't have any gates in the fences, how are they going to get out to mow? So a whole lot of different things that we really, excuse me, need to look at here. So that's just kind of again, that's our take on that from this standpoint right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Just to give a little clarity to this, the reason that I believe some of this is coming about, and I know it's been a gated community for lots of years, as a private entity of Baptist Memorial, but in taxing, that's been the issue, is taxation. And over the years, it wound up being, or what has found to be with the appraisal district, is that these are not homesteads. They are, even though many of the residents believe over the years, that they've put their homestead in and get the tax benefit from that. It has come to the appraisal district's attention that they are really like life estates or rentals, if you want to. That's a real broad word, rental. And I've said that, not the appraisal district, but sitting on that board, this has been a real issue with how to make these changes to benefit those that live there and have bought or put their monies down for these properties. And that's the reason for some of the need. And this is how Baptist Memorial's handling. Village East is doing it another way. Rio Concho's doing it another way. This is just the way that Baptist Memorial is trying to rectify that situation as a tax problem. But if, I don't know how the rest of them are going to meet city standards, the other properties, but that's a lot. What you're saying, Shane, is, you're talking about sewer, you're talking about water lines and mains and fences, and that's just, sounds like a lot to make this decision for the city to take over and maintain some of this.
It is, and it's, coming to us fairly quick without us being able to sit down and work through a lot of these options. With Village East, we were able to sit down with them, when we worked out an options to where they kept all of their utilities, they kept their streets, they kept all of that private, even though that they did divide and divide the property into individual lots. And so, and we worked out a developer's agreement, basically. I think that's kind of the term that we used for it, to where at any point in time, if their 501c, if it ever dissolved, that they, at that point in time, or they ever sold anything, that they would upgrade everything to city standard at that time. And so that's how Village East worked through it. And again, like I said, this has come to us so quick. I mean, my operations department, they just ran a quick number. Just, it was section 1 and 2, but if you just look at just the mowing, the street maintenance, and all of that, over the next 20 years, and I mean, that's no utilities involved in this, it's just streets and mowing, additional mowing, we're at a little over $1 million in 20 years of expenses to the city. And that's just routine expense, that's not any specialized stuff, and that, again, that doesn't include the utilities, it doesn't include a lot of those type things, and again, just a lot of things that we're worried about and concerned about that we haven't had a chance to vet and work through, how we're going to do it. Again, the mowing issue, we know that's going to be an issue there. We know, and again, we're taking, 30-foot wide streets, and we're trying to put public, all of a sudden it's going to become public. We don't know who's going to own these houses in the future.
Right.
How many vehicles are going to be parked there? Are they going to try to park on the road, not park on the road? Go in there, are we going to have to make no parking on the roads? I mean, there's a lot of different things that, as you start looking into this moving into the future, that haven't been worked out.
Shane, out of curiosity, how long has the city been aware of, working with the owner or developer on this specific item?
30 days.
Maybe 60 days.
Okay,
I mean,
so
there's
really
been
not
rumors
long.
for
Okay,
years.
right, but actually like momentum
But,
behind it.
I've been involved, they brought it to me, and I've been involved in this for about 30 days.
Okay.
So,
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And I do believe that this is a bit different than the Village East circumstance in that the Baptist Memorial Corporation is looking to outright sell these
Right.
properties, and that the current occupants will be given first right of refusal,
Right.
but they're going to be sold.
And this might be this is more a question, but in the current grass area here, so you're right away, due to the minimal street width on the interior, are we able to do any I don't want to say alley, but rear parking, or is that something that wouldn't be allowed for the city? Because
Lots aren't that large.
No, I mean, one, the width of this street, specifically this street, wouldn't
that
allow for that.
Okay.
Without significant widening. And then two, again, with the fence there.
Sure, well, obviously,
it's-
it
yeah.
would be a fence modification, but yeah, okay.
And two, I mean, we definitely have to make sure who owns the fence.
Right.
I've gotten into this before on Southwest, who owns the wall. When the wall needs maintenance, the homeowners don't want to do maintenance on the wall, so they ask the city to do it, or if something happens, they ask us to come do it, and we didn't build the wall and we don't own it, but
Sure.
they don't own it either, so.
Right. Completely understand, thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. I think we'll open up for public comment if we hadn't already.
And Luke,
Just
if
Russell.
I might clarify one thing too. Given staff's opposition to the dedication, approval of the plat doesn't necessarily mean that the city has to take over these streets as a publicly dedicated street. But if the plat otherwise meets the platting requirements, which I think is what we're saying it does, you can still approve it, but it's approved with those streets still being private streets. But until the city actually agrees to accept those, then I don't think you can enforce the city taking that over, given the opposition. But I think you can still approve the plat, so
Okay.
if that helps.
Does that make
at
sense
all.
to everybody?
But-
Well, it makes sense, but why would you do that?
Is there a time frame though on
Yeah.
the plat? Like, let's say they don't do anything for 2 years, does the plat approval then become null and void? Or,
Well, there is a timeline on how long the plat can be, I guess, outstanding.
Sure.
But as far as the dedication, I don't know. I mean, the way the statute reads as far as the city accepting a dedication, it's when municipal authorities make an actual appropriation of the dedicated parts by entry, use, or improvement. So to me, that's the city coming in, doing maintenance, allocating funding, things of that nature, not necessarily just signing off on the plat itself.
all right, Russell,
All right, yes.
happy Monday.
Russell Gully with SKG. This one is a very complex situation, albeit somewhat different than the other ones. This is somewhat, Baptist Memorials look to get out of this type of business. They're looking to kind of sell these out and kind of stop this facet of their company. They've done this in another city, and so now they're looking to try to do this in Sanangelo. And this one section 1 seemed to be kind of the easiest one. Section 2 is really a mess from all different perspectives. So I guess if we start out and look at it, we did the zone change, and we have the underlying zoning of an RM1, which triggers the sidewalks. The actual use here is really more of a single-family type residential use. So the sidewalks, internal streets and some of these smaller side streets is because of that underlying zoning. So we'll request a waiver from, I guess, staff for that one. But if we look at this, there's existing water mains within Section 1 that are in dedicated easements and are maintained currently by the city. And so really, if you look at those, the city's going to have that responsibility to continue to maintain those in perpetuity, because they are in easements, they are on the city's infrastructure, so water and sewer mains are both present. The city will continue to be responsible to maintain those, so there's really not a change or an impact to the city for water and sewer mains. So we don't see that is really a significant impact to the city. And maybe I'll start kind of going through the conditions. Section 1 will satisfy that. Condition 2, there's already existing mains in place. Condition 3, there's existing mains in place. Number 4, we'll request a waiver for that. Number 5, staff just presented, and you just approved a preliminary plat with a 40-foot right-of-way in it. So now we're against 40-foot right-of-ways? So you just approved one, a preliminary plat with a 40-foot right-of-way on it. To the east of this area, there, I guess you have 17th Street, 18th Street, Velma, Hughes, and Jones are all 40-foot wide rights-of-way. And so there's about a mile of existing roads to the east that are 40-foot right-of-way. So we didn't feel like that was really a stretch, asking for a 40-foot wide right-of-way. If we need to, we can dedicate easements adjacent to that for sidewalks if those have to come in to play and for whatever utilities there may be. We could do a 50-foot right-of-way. It would just kind of squeeze down, if you will, the room left. You know, this one is unique because there's existing homes there and driveways, and it functions. And so if you want and require 50 feet right-of-way, and we would ask for your approval of that variance request for the 40 feet. You just approved one, as I indicated, and there's a lot of 40-foot right-of-way in that area to the east. Then we would ask for your approval of the variance on the street width for the improvements. The city, and we realize this is coming in as a new subdivision, so you have to look at it as that condition, and we don't really have the benefit of this being existing right-of-way that's dedicated, and it's a funny nuance there with the existing homes, but we would ask, we're over the 26-foot minimum that is typically kind of the standard accepted for existing developed conditions. These are very short-length roads, if you will. They kind of come together at the ends and connect out. On one end, we have a 50-foot right-of-way. On the other end, where we could bump that out to be 50 feet wide, so that the segment that connects over to 14th Street, that one is a 50-foot right-of-way, and for that short little piece that connects out to Bradford, we could make that one 50 feet if needed. So it'd just be kind of those two internal little eye-shaped pieces, if you will, that are narrow there. And so, but for the pavement width, we would ask for your approval of that. I talked to Reese Albert about that. They remembered constructing that back in the 1995 timeframe. They used, and we will confirm this, they used their type A grade 2 limestone base on the roadway, which is still current city spec. So to reconstruct that, the drives through there, and we've talked a little bit with engineering about this, most likely would do a mill and overlay to where we would remove the existing asphalt pavement and come in and put a new asphalt surface over that to provide kind of a minimum 20-year pavement design. So we feel like, from a street perspective, that we would provide an equivalent or better street as if this was a new subdivision. The curb and gutter is kind of a lay down or mountable curb there that's when it was installed, the detail was the city standard at the time. You know, the width of that is grown here recently from 18 to 24 inches, but other than that, it's very similar. And so we would even feel like, you know, if there's a concern about the maintenance cost of this, the narrower road over the life cycle is going to be a lower maintenance cost. We go to these wide 40-foot streets, and that constitutes more paving. All of this stuff is maintenance by the square foot, and that all adds up. So I think from that concern or that perspective, that a narrower street, because this is a real somewhat closed, not a flow-through neighborhood, that these streets, they all have driveways, as you can see by the photos. Austin's does a great job taking photos and working that for me, so thank you, sir. So the street, we would ask for your approval of the variance on the street widths. We believe that's well over the 26 feet that the fire marshal generally requires, being close to 30-foot width there. The variances for the adjacent streets, if we do nothing and this is not approved or not ultimately filed, then there's no change to those streets. So, no change. So we would ask for the variance because ultimately we do have the fence along there and I guess on 14th and 18th and 17th Street. So we're really not utilizing those where we have driveways coming off of them that would ultimately tend to kind of unravel the edge and have the edge deterioration. And it's kind of a mix of who maintains that area, who doesn't. Do we put driveways there and create more traffic now back in that area? And I think even how those residences would function, because they're set up for really front entry garages, and so I don't know that there's even enough depth between the back of the house to the fence to really create driveways or secondary parking. So let me kind of stop there and back up and see. This is the beginning of a longer discussion. The first and best opportunity for Baptist Memorials is to have this become public. The homeowners there are generally elderly, fixed income, and so, they've talked about and are looking at, could they have a property owners association that we keep these streets private, and that they ultimately are responsible for the fencing and the maintenance of the perimeter of that. And so that is all something they're looking at, but it's like, let's try if we can get this platted and at least the streets be publicly dedicated streets. Now all of these homes now start paying tax. Currently, I think Baptist Memorials is a full-on 501c3, so they're fully exempt from property tax on these residences. So there is no property tax being paid on these, but as they convey them off to individuals, those individuals will now start paying property tax. So as was pointed out, the city currently provides fire, police, water, sewer utilities, and all of that type of stuff for there. There's really no tax coming in for that for city, county, or school district. So these would start paying into that. So the first look is if this could be publicly dedicated, that would ultimately lessen what a property owner association would be responsible for. So, and they're tossing around the idea of still doing one to do exactly as was mentioned, to maintain these perimeter mowing, if you will, around the outside fences, because most of those people probably are not going to be out pushing a lawnmower. They'll just have to hire someone to mow that. But there is code enforcement, and they've been out, and I've gotten a letter to go mow my high weeds. So there is a code enforcement mechanism that will require that to be kept up. So there is something to protect the city from that just growing wild, if you will. And so if need be, that them setting up a property owners association to contribute to that is kind of in the back of their mind. So we wanted to come to here today and really test the waters of sorts and see where we kind of land with this, because depending on how it goes, we may be appealing to city council or staff may be appealing to city council. So we're just kind of wanting to go through the process as we learn and figure out, because this is so unique. So pardon my long-windedness on this one, but there's a lot to this one.
Can we put the slide back up with the conditions, please? Thank you.
So we would also ask for your approval of the variances for the curb and gutter and the widening of 18th Street, the 18th Street bypass, and Poe Street. I guess, and that includes the incremental half of both of those. Then the drainage study, we're happy to do that. This will be really a no change because this is an existing condition, so we're not really adding anything there. And then removing the gates at North Star and North Gate, willing to do that as well. Be happy to answer any questions, and would ask for this as presented with the variances as requested.
So Russell, I know the city feels like this is come before them fairly quick, at least in this specific one, because there are some different challenges. I mean, obviously, it seems like you're obviously trekking forward and on board, but do you feel it's premature compared to some of the other ones that we've looked at with the city?
Well, and for Section 2, it is so
Yeah,
much more
Section 2 is-
complicated, and so that's why it may set back or will. This one, if we put it off another month and allow staff to continue to look at it, I think we're okay with that. This is not a rush to get it done. They want to try to keep making progress, but really this was how does Planning Commission feel about it? What's their thoughts on this? How do we, whichever way it goes, there may be somebody appealing to city council, so do we just send it there? So, no pressure on y'all, but, any thoughts, directive, ideas could help us plan and move forward with it.
How does the trash service currently work? Is there service to each individual residence, or is it handled by
then?
the larger entity?
That's a good question. I don't know. I would assume, I haven't seen dumpsters at this, so I would assume they do rollouts there, but I can't see them. Austin, do you remember seeing any? No. Yeah. Unless they make them all roll them, maybe they make them all roll them inside and keep them in the garage, and so I haven't seen a dumpster there either, so.
Is it even viable with the existing structures as they are and fairly short distance between the street and the yard to widen the streets?
Not really. If we widen the streets and they try to park in their driveways, you're going to have the back end of their cars kind of hanging out a little bit. So, excuse me, we're really talking about 5 feet each side. We're 31 feet back to back, and so about 5 feet each side.
And then the existing water and sewer mains that are there, that are being utilized, it's not like Village East, like each unit has an individual tap, or I can't recall, I apologize.
We believe, based on the drawings we've seen and the information, that they all are individually sewer service and meters.
And if they're not, the
Then we'll
company's
fix that.
willing to
Yes.
correct that, okay. Okay, and then are the sewer mains, obviously, I know this is kind of a loaded question, do we believe the sewer mains are adequate for, like, if there are existing sewer mains, we're not having to require like a lift station or anything additional if we're putting more sewer mains in?
For Section 1, there's 8-inch water and sewer main, which is the city minimum, and so that's adequate for this location.
Okay.
When were most of these houses built?
The plat was approved in 95, so I'm thinking 96 coming forward.
I thought it was a lot older than that.
Yeah, I did too.
Section 2 is, but Section 1 is relatively newer.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my biggest concern is the city taking on more liability than the addition of these individually platted homes adds to the rolls. If you took on a huge public works project to have to bring everything up to code because it's so old and just worn out, then that's obviously something that we need to take into consideration. But if they're newer and adequate, then I think that alleviates a lot of my concerns about potentially taking on more of an expense than we're adding in additional tax revenue by bringing them onto the tax rolls.
I would presume, since water and sewer mains are existing, if something happens to those, city's responsible for those.
Well, that's
Period, but
interesting too. I didn't
that
realize
should
that
be
they
a
were already
Yeah,
providing.
right. That
Yeah.
should be a revenue neutral thing, that I guess the cost of providing water and sewer service is fee-based. So,
Yeah.
This might be a question for you, Brandon, but is there, when Russell was talking about the establishment of a POA, is that a condition that you can, in an approval of a plat like this, and I know you were talking to this earlier, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. Can that be a condition as to the private residents maintaining certain aspects of this?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I think it would just, by law, be up to the residents if it is still a private road after the plat's approved. But I don't think we can make them create an association or anything to do that, as far as I know.
And ultimately, maybe that's where it winds up. You know, in my perspective, it comes down to the road. You know, water and sewer is what it is for Section 1. Section 2, different story. So if we can provide a road that meets the city's requirements, then, you know, we have, albeit older homes there, but we do have that tax base. So we would think that a narrower street, if we're talking want to save every penny we can, is all to the benefit of the city, but yet it's still, we feel it's a safe street. So thank you for hearing us out. You know, where that goes, we just want to lay it in front of you. If you want to make a motion with it, that would be great. If we need to postpone it, I don't know from our side what would change over a month. Maybe the city could be more comfortable with this from a cost basis. But really, maybe we'll just throw ourselves at your mercy, and then we'll see if we go to somebody needs to appeal to city council for some of these variances.
Well, that was kind of, sorry, just one more question for you. You said not much is going to change if it's delayed. I mean, that was kind of what was in the back of my mind. What could be different to get the city more comfortable with the process, and based on the discussions y'all had?
Maybe just some time for them to maybe run some numbers and see, okay, what is it, what could be that, or maybe if there's something, I don't know if we could voluntarily agree to do or put on the plat some sort of, that a POA is required to maintain the surrounding segment behind the fence and the street for those that are kind of, because we all look internal, these lots look internal, and so to these side streets, we're not using them, which is kind of more to our basis for the variance request. So if there's something we can do, but there's code enforcement out there that is very active in making sure that the trees and grasses do not stay tall for long.
Do we know, how far can that fence actually be? If they are sold to the public and somebody wants to move their fence back, are they able to without the sightline visibility or the right of way? Do you know?
From what I can tell from the survey, that fence is right on the property right-of-way line, so it really couldn't move.
Got it.
And I did look up the plan development. So the rear yard in this plan development has a minimum of 10 feet. Now, some of those structures are further than that from the fence, but that's probably where the closest one is. And the front yard, we have a 15-foot setback, which I think is more than adequate with most of the structures. There may be a few, maybe not even in Section 1, maybe in Section 2 that are closer than that. But that's what we approved in the plan development, which allowed these size of lots.
With this change, it looks like just going along 18th Street, that portion butting up to the street is not included in the platted lot. So how can we enforce requiring the residents to mow that and not have that be the responsibility of the city?
Code enforcement.
I would say that's like every other lot in town, that the property owner that has land adjacent in the right-of-way, they maintain those areas. Just like any normal subdivision, you probably have 5 feet of right-of-way or 10 feet of right-of-way in your front yard, you still mow that area.
Yeah.
This just happens to be against a street that's behind. They still have the responsibility. I think we know logically that could be a challenge initially, but again, if these properties go to anyone in the future, maybe that's not an issue in the future. We just don't know when that is. And maybe that's something within the developer agreement, working with the corporation as they work through that, can be agreed to with the city, with Public Works, on how that's managed.
Okay. I think Shane got it.
Shane, do you have anything? Do you have something else?
speak to the mowing portion of it. Yeah, the mowing is actually outlined in city ordinance. The responsibilities of each homeowner, from basically back of curb to center alley, if there is an alley. So, is actually required for maintenance per city ordinance, so.
It's just kind of a unique setup here because you've got, your fence that's a pretty good distance, at least in the kind of middle of that
curve, yes.
curve on going up to 18th Street. That would be,
Yeah,
pretty good.
and it's the same way down Main as well too, and, with the, sort of section 2, of course, you pulled that, but again, there's these issues, again, all over. And again, the only really other area in town that we have this like this, I said, was on Southwest, and so, but again, it's one of those that, homeowners are responsible to mow, even outside the brick wall, all the way to the edge of Southwest, so they're responsible for mowing that, so again, but we do have, again, but with with the residences here, if they purchase these homes, again, they currently don't mow, and to speak to trash service, they do not have individual trash service here, so that's an internal thing to Baptist Memorials. They take care of the trash service for the residences as well. So that would be another thing that would have to add to this. Each individual homeowner would have to, again, have residential trash service, and then they would be issued carts and have to do the carts as well, so.
Okay. Well, that kind of raises another question then, I guess. Well, it seems like, obviously, there's fire service to the streets, and that at some point was deemed to be adequate for a fire truck to be able to access based on the current width of the roads. Is that going to be an issue for trash service as well, to be able to get in and out and use?
The trash service will be able to go, they'll be able to do on the streets. They'll be able to go along the streets and collect and pick up. The biggest issue is that people are parked on the street. That's when it's going to get pretty tight for a trash truck to start maneuvering in and out of the residential area there. So again, but again, it's still doable from the trash service standpoint. But again, parking along the streets is what's going to be an issue. It may be that the city would have to, if these become public roads, the city would have to probably go in there and make no parking on one side. So, at least, so.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any more public comment, Ray? Okay. I'll go ahead and close public comment and open up for discussion.
I think a lot of it comes to, in the long run, and not just looking here in the next, 2 years, is the cost versus the benefit. In the first phase, there's 52 lots. Let's say those homes go to market and they bring in a minimum of, let's say, $3,800 a year in taxable revenue. That's just shy of $200,000 a year for that section, which over 20 years is just shy of $4 million. There was I believe, and don't quote me, but I believe somebody had made a comment that the city maintenance on mowing and other expenses over a 20-year period would be about $1 million. So technically, I know there's other expenses that go into it, but technically over a 20-year period, we're on the positive end of it by opening this up to what the applicant's suggesting. I do think that for a little while it is going to be interesting because you are going to have, a 90% ownership of Baptist Memorial and maybe a 10% of public. And until that balances itself out and becomes fully public, the city will have a higher expense on maintenance than, as far as until the balance hits. So those were kind of the points that I had made. I don't know if anyone else kind of has thoughts based on that. Crickets. Okay. Okay.
I'm thinking there's a lot more going into this. Shane only had the last 30 days and 60 days for the maybe notice about this. And then we heard for some variances on street width and curbing, and there's just a lot to this one. Even though I guess Section 2 is going to be even harder. But we've heard the city ask for some time to do some more delving into costs and abilities and ensuring, and we brought up trash, so that's another thing that hadn't been thought of. I'm sort of thinking we ought to give this another 30 days and give them time to get us some more data before we move forward. That would be my thought. There's just, with the making this like a new subdivision, becoming public, you want the roads and the sewer and the water lines to meet city standards. I think in moving this to be more public, the difference is quite a bit of cost. And I'd like to see a little more information.
Did I understand right that the city currently maintains the water and sewer in this section? Is that correct?
Section 1, correct, in this section.
Okay.
They are, water and sewer lines are at city standards.
So there really be no,
There'd
be no change in, as far as utilities go in this area, just be the maintenance of the
So of
street.
these conditions 2 and 3, those,
really don't. They're just not sure if each, please correct me if I'm incorrect, but if each unit has a tap, they believe it does,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
not 100% sure.
Correct, they would just confirm that those have the individual
see.
taps for each structure.
Okay, so a couple thoughts then, just to bounce off Candy, and I don't mean to cut you off if you
no,
weren't
no, no,
done.
I'm through.
On the trash service, if, for instance, they decided to create some sort of HOA or some sort of communal area, could they not just do bins and have that as trash service, so we're not even worried about trash cans?
I would probably let Public Works speak to that, as that's kind of their purview. I'm not sure how that would look for them, but I think public trash service would be available to them.
Right, sure, I just, because the trash can thing seems to be an issue. So if that is something that's of concern, I didn't know if it could be like a communal bin, potentially.
Currently in our contract and our ordinance, we don't have anything set up for that. Not to say that we couldn't amend our current contract to set up something for that. We do, like apartment complexes, things like that, we do have that set up from a commercial business standpoint. The problem is once these, and we could even do that for Baptist Memorials, but once these become individual privately owned homes, who's going to pay? It'd have to be some kind of HOA, something that would actually have that in their name to structure that. So.
Definitely. I think that's a fixable item. One thing I will say, because we have had this conversation, sorry, Shane, I'm good with you. When we've looked at some areas to potentially add sidewalks, and, we were looking at how people typically park, and the majority of, like a truck, the bed is over the sidewalk. So I just feel, in my personal opinion, having to widen the street is only going to create more issues for potential current and future homeowners, in the sole fact that, is somebody going to be coming around and saying, okay, your bumper's over the sidewalk or over, the public area. And I think that's just putting more things on the city that's unnecessary. If the road's functioning currently at the current width, and we have adequate entry and egress for fire and other services, I don't see widening the streets on a cost perspective making any sense in this, personally.
Well, I think on the same note that, at the time that these were constructed, I believe they were built up to the requirements of the city. And what's interesting too is if you look to the east, that in the current public roadways on like East 17th, Velma, Hughes, those are all 40-foot right-of-way as well. I think, to your point, that widening them, while it would bring it up to the current city requirements, would actually cause a number of other problems too. Because the houses are where they are, and there's a 15-foot setback from the front yard. So you can't move the house.
Yeah.
It doesn't really accomplish anything. It kind of is what it is. So those are kind of my thoughts on the roadway anyway. Like I said, I think the biggest concern that I had was just, the potential of the city taking on huge maintenance liability because there's deferred maintenance, or just the age of the development in itself, and not knowing exactly what we're getting into. But it sounds like, the city is already maintaining the water mains and sewer mains, so it's not really changing anything.
Right. And I mean, I completely understand on section 2, because that is an older area, it is a considerably larger area. But, the fact that we have the minimum standard currently on water and sewer, I don't see why we need to postpone this truly. I mean, I'm good with making a vote. If I'm going to be the unpopular one today, but.
No.
The other thing, I think, just going through the conditions, drainage studies included in there, just looking at the pictures on the area behind the fence going up to 14th Street, right? Yeah, or 18th. It looks like that's kind of a graded to be a drainage area too, so.
It's got a little bit of a slope.
It'd be kind of interesting to see. I don't think you could really do a whole lot into that area and not have some drainage considerations. So, kind of my thoughts. All right. Further
Could we
discussion or
have,
motion?
oh,
go
well,
ahead,
could we have Russell come back and talk just one more time about the variance that he was speaking of that they're wanting?
I think there was a few.
I'll
several
open
of
it
them.
back up for public comment.
Oh, okay.
The drainage study, just thinking of that, I think that area was right on the fringe, or maybe in part of some of the area that had very substantial flooding, and from what I'm understanding, that area did not really have any drainage flooding into any of the homes, so we somewhat had a real-life drainage study test on that one. So the variance request really comes down to the right-of-way width, pavement widths, and then even the installation of curb and gutter along that segment of 18th bypass and Poe that doesn't have curb and gutter existing. And then there's a little bit of, to get to the incremental half of Poe Street, we would need to add 3 feet. So that's an existing right-of-way, so currently it's about 20 feet, it's its narrowest point, so our incremental half would be adding 3 feet to...
And so you're asking for a variance on the 3 foot, correct?
Correct,
Okay.
Yes.
And I don't know, this might be a Brandon question. On the curb and gutter, can that be deferred to after the drainage study is completed? Like on the curb and gutter on Poe and 18th or whatever the other street is?
Well, we would need to do the drainage study up front before we record the plat anyway, so it would that would get done prior to any actual physical work being done.
Sure, but you're requesting a variance on curb and gutter along 18th. And so I just didn't know if the drainage study said that the current, because there isn't anything, is inadequate. At that point, can we readdress the curb and gutter, if that makes sense? Or does that just further, I know that's further complicating, but trying to save the owner money now unless there's truly an issue.
And this may be a question of Mr. Pate, but I always think, when I look at drainage studies, it's kind of internal to what is being developed. And so really, we're not touching anything outside of our development or increasing anything on the 18th or anything. So really, I don't know that we would have an obligation to change drainage conditions outside of the confines of our plat. Now, there is a portion of that does function. There's a big culvert pipe that comes through there, and so we start widening the street. We might actually
Create
be a
more issues.
detriment to some of that by decreasing available capacity in that little ditch along there.
Yep.
Sneaky snuck behind me.
Typically, a drainage study shows compliance with our stormwater design manual, which says that the post-development runoff rate in cubic feet per second cannot exceed the pre-development runoff rate. So in this instance, there's all sorts of interpretations one can throw upon that. In this instance, we have an existing surface. So we don't anticipate any change in the reality of the circumstance. But we do want to have an assessment of what that reality is.
Okay.
If it does not comply with our stormwater design manual, then there are opportunities for mitigation.
Okay.
I don't anticipate there being a lot, but there are opportunities for that.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Close public.
Oh, yeah. I'll close public comment and open it back up for discussion or a vote.
Well, I haven't really said much, but I'm kind of on the same page as a few of you in that this is an existing development that seems to be functioning. It's got the water sewer service. It doesn't appear that by dedicating it that it's going to wreak havoc on what's currently going on there. But I also, if the city feels that they need, whether it changes anything or not, if they need 30 more days to get comfortable with it, I have no problem with that as well. So.
I think, so on any extension of time, the applicant would have to agree to that. We can do it just on our own, so.
Okay. Okay, I am going to move forward and make a vote. I'm going to move to approve the plat, and in regard to the conditions, since number 2 and 3 are already fulfilled, we believe, I'm good with those. Number 4, I am going to agree with the applicant to request a waiver on sidewalks due to the current lot width. Number 5, I'm also going to agree with the applicant to request a variance and keep a 40-foot right-of-way. And number 6, again, request a variance in the street width to the current street width. I don't believe that it needs to get widened. And then again, number 7, the variance on curb and gutter. I think that, and I'm probably using the wrong term, but the rollover, the flat curb that's currently there is functioning adequately on drainage and just in general with a thinner or a narrower street. I believe it will allow for easier parking. And then obviously the drainage study, et cetera. So I think I hit everything.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve and grant waivers requested that are also cited under conditions 4, 5, 6, and 7. Do I have a second?
I just want to clarify, I want to make sure that, did you mean to include number 8 or not?
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time reading that. Yes, as far as the applicant did request a variance on the 3-foot as well on that. So.
Okay, I thought you were leaning that way, I just wanted to make sure that
thank
it was stated.
Thank you, Aaron.
So your motion would be to, and
Move.
we haven't had a second.
Sorry. So to recap my motion, because that was a lot, approve the plat with variances on items 4 through 8.
Okay. Do we have a second? Or discussion?
Well, like I said, I don't have a problem with it, but I would like to give the city a little bit more time to get comfortable.
Without a second, it does.
Linda just looked like she was in deep thought.
I was. I still am.
Okay, so,
Yeah, I'm seeing both sides. I am curious on what 30 days was going to change.
I just feel like, and I understand where the city's coming from, like thinking, like wanting more time, but again, all of these are existing without any huge changes or implications on any of those items. So again, your entrance and exit are fully accessible. Widening the street doesn't really make sense. Again, phase 2 has all sorts of other issues that I completely understand that that's going to take the city a lot longer to wrap their heads around. But I just feel like this is pretty, for the most part, straightforward since it's functioning currently, in my opinion.
And so the role of the planning commission under the state law and how our city council has designated you guys as the reviewer of plats, you really have 3 options. One to approve with conditions, which is the current motion, or 3 to deny. Again, as Brandon said, we don't really have the ability to extend this in any way. The state law says we cannot force the applicant to extend this.
without a request from the applicant.
Without a request from the applicant. And so I would, again, if this motion fails, then you'll have to come up with a different motion to attempt to move forward. So we have, if we don't act as a planning commission, then the plat is approved by right. So we have to have
I'm
an
going to
action.
second the motion so that we can take a vote. I like the variances to state because they work, or they're working right now without a lot of other issues. So if we're not able to just put this off for 30 days, then my second is because I agree with 4 through 8.
Okay? So we have a motion to approve granting variances for conditions that are listed on 4 through 8, and a second. So I'll open up for a vote now. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so motion passes and it is approved, subject to conditions 1, 2, 3, and 9 and 10. Right?
It's going to be crazy.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next plat in our agenda. It is RP 25-15 Concho River Estates, a request for first replat of 1.533 acres in Tract 7, Concho River Estates located at 2991 Cristobal Road with variance requests for the block length, increasing road width, and installation of curb and gutter. Right?
Good morning. It is still morning, I believe.
Barely.
Ray Lineberry, lead planner. And this is the Contra River Estates, Track 7. So it was originally platted, use this pointer, as this line all the way over to this one as one lot. So they are breaking this lot out to its own. So it is a replat of 1.533 acres in a single-family residential RS1. It is located at 2991 Cristobal Road, SMD 3, Harry Thomas, the Glenmore neighborhood. And this is the plat. And so staff is recommending, they do have a variance request of, actually they have 3. So the variance requests, I did not do a picture. The block length, from Terrace Drive all the way up to Paint Rock Road is about 5,400 feet. And our block length can only be 2,000, if I remember correctly, or is it 1,000? 1 or 2,000. very much doubles what our block length allows. So there is a request to not create a street going through their lot from Christoval back to AEP's. That is the number 3. Number 4, Christoval Road improvements. It is on a CIP plan. While it's not currently funded, staff does believe that only widening the street in that little 80-foot would cause a little bit more of a safety issue. And the curb and gutter also would only be in 80 feet of curb and gutter. And then the tax cert and sidewalk are the other conditions. But staff is recommending approval of all 3 variances and the plat.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Anybody have any questions for Ray? All right, I'll open up public comment.
Russell with SKG would ask for your approval as presented with the variances requested. Happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Russell?
Nope.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I'll go ahead and close public comment and open it up for discussion or vote.
I'll motion to approve as presented, including the 3 variances stated by Ray.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion by Brittany and a second by Lyndon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you. And now moving into right-of-way and alley abandonments. City Council has final authority for approval of abandonments. First case is ROW 25-02, 47th and Crockett. A request to abandon the alleyway north of the intersection of 47th and Crockett Street and abandon the dedicated portion of Bonham Street between 48th and 47th Street. Austin.
Thank you. Austin Reed, Senior Planner. This one comes to you out of the Lakeview neighborhood. It is District Number 2, Joe Sells District. RS1 zoning for this area. Vision Plan has it as neighborhood, and as you said, we have a request for approval of the abandonment of an alleyway in portion of street. The alleyway being that skinnier portion and then the street going where it extends north on that side to the west. So we were required to send out notice on this. We sent 24. As of today, we received 2 in favor from the adjacent property owners, did not receive any who were opposed. So on to our staff analysis. The total abandoned area measures about 0.6 acres or 26,350 square feet and includes that alleyway and a portion of Bonham Street. It's important to note that no portion of this abandonment has historically been improved or used for access. There are also no city utilities located within the area of the request. So overall, we don't think the abandonment would appear to affect traffic patterns, the environment, or surrounding owners right now. With that, we are recommending approval subject to 3 conditions of approval. These are pretty standard for abandonments. The first one being that payment shall be remitted for all the abandoned right-of-way. Second one is that they need to submit, obtain approval of, and officially record a plat absorbing the abandonment. As part of this plat, they will need to dedicate to the city a portion of property that currently goes over into East 47th to kind of clean it up. And then number 3 being for the quit claim deed afterwards. You guys have any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Austin? Thank you, Austin.
Thanks.
Go ahead. Do we have any public comment? Okay, I'll go ahead and open up public comment.
Erica, if there's any questions. And then David, is it Moultrie? You're good? Okay.
Okay. Then I'll go ahead and close public comment and open up for discussion or vote.
I make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Okay, have a motion by Liz and a second by Lyndon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that one passes. All right, next right-of-way, an alleyway abandonment case is ROW 2503, 528 Beck Street. A request to abandon the alleyway that goes through the middle of the lot and a portion of the right-of-way along Beck Street at 528 Beck Street. Right.
Okay, good morning, Ray Lineberry, lead planner. This is 528 Vex Street. It is in the Pollyant neighborhood, District 3, Harry Thomas. It is zoned RS1 single family. The vision plan is transitional. And this is a request to abandon the alleyway that goes right through this lot right here. And then this portion of Vex Street. I have better pictures, but this was kind of just an overhead image. We did mail out 12 notices. We actually received one in favor this morning. It was 625. And 0 opposed. So looking at it, it's about 1,333 square feet of alleyway that goes between the lots, and then it's about 1,397 square feet there in the front of Vex Street. The portion of the abandonment, there is no roadway or improvements through the alleyway. In fact, I'm going to go back one picture. I don't know if you can see, but his fence is actually right here already. So this has already been functioning as part of his yard. There are no city services in that alleyway or the street frontage. It doesn't appear to affect any traffic patterns or environment. So with that, staff is recommending approval with the idea that the owner purchases what we abandon and then provides a quitclaim deed and replats it into his property. Is there any questions?
No questions? Thank you, Ray. Do we have any public comment on this one?
Erica, if you have any questions.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Go ahead and close public comment and open up for discussion or a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve as the city presented.
Second.
Okay. A motion by Lyndon and second by Brittany to approve as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Moving on to conditional uses. The Planning Commission has final authority for approval of conditional uses. Appeals may be directed to the City Council. Case number 1, CU 25-12, 320 West Avenue O, a request for conditional use to allow household living in a neighborhood commercial CN zoning district. Aaron.
Thank you, Chairman. Aaron Benoit, Director of Planning Development Services. This morning, we've got this conditional use to allow household living in a neighborhood commercial area. You can see here the two lots are zone neighborhood commercial. They're in District 3, Mr. Harry Thomas, and in the Rio Vista neighborhood. You can see Avenue Inn, Old Knickerbocker, and Ben Ficklin there. So it is kind of an area that's just starting to begin to the neighborhood to the south, but it is still got some commercial activities to the north. But we are looking at this and saying, all right, well, what would be the appropriate use for, is it residential or commercial? We did send out the notices. We did have 4 in favor and 3 opposed. And I may turn to my colleagues to say, do we know why they were opposed? What did they say? They just checked the box. So there is some opposition. Not exactly sure why, but you can see there are significant residences as you come south. I mean, there are residences in through this area. Of course, to the north is the commercial area. I believe that's a commercial structure. I think that's a barbecue, and then some other restaurant areas in there. Their proposal is to do single-family houses, 2 of them, 1 on each lot. You can see the floor plan there. Fairly modest house, but total under roof is 1,700, but actually heated is around 1,242, I think. So not a huge house, but still something that works for some families that still may need a couple of bedrooms and things like that. Staff recommendation is to approval of this request for conditional use for household living. Neighborhood commercial is very compatible with neighborhood living. They are going to conform it with single-family residential setbacks. We would not have access on the Ben Ficklin Road. They will actually have access on West Avenue O, and then just obtain the required permits and inspections as they construct the house. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Is there a reason why we're doing conditional use and it, like, do we have the zoning, a picture of the zoning now?
I don't see the zoning up here, but I know that these are just neighborhood commercial, I think, believed to that lot there, and then I want to say the rest is it RS2 or RS1? RS1.
Just with the rest of the map cleanup that we've been working on, I just wasn't sure why.
Yeah. And about 2 years ago, they came in and rezoned this to neighborhood commercial, away from the residential. And now I think they're either have sold it or proposing to sell it to somebody that does want to do housing there.
Yep.
We think it's a good use of the lots to start getting them, they are kind of like infill lots to us, and getting them used in some way is better than staying vacant. The reason for the conditional use, it's a shorter process than a full rezoning. They would have to wait the full kind of 3 months to go through. Neighborhood commercial is very compatible with residential, and so that's why we believe this will work. And they are doing the single-family housing there, which is very compatible with the rest of it instead of multifamily housing.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Aaron.
Can you go back to the conditions for a second? So we would request in your motion, condition number 1, to say single-family residential and all, not just setbacks. One of the ones in opposition are afraid that they'll put a manufactured home there. So if we make that single-family residential completely as the condition rather than just setbacks.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Am I gonna make a motion? Okay. All right.
Hold on.
Do we have to close?
Anybody have any more questions for Aaron or staff? Okay, thank you. And do we have any public comment? Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public comment and open it up for a discussion or a motion.
Make a motion to approve as presented by staff, and on item number 1, specify that the lots will be used as single-family residence.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to approve as presented with clarification that it'd be subject to the requirements of 1.4 SFR. I'll go ahead and take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next conditional use case is CU. We on 13? Yes. CU 2513, 218 West 27th Street. Request for conditional use to allow household living in a general commercial, heavy commercial CGCH zoning district. Aaron.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, this is going to be a conditional use to allow residential or household living in a commercial zone. This actually is, I would say, a renewal, but it's really not a renewal. They did receive a conditional use for this in the past. It expired. They were not able to move forward at the time as they had a utility, some infrastructure to take care of first. Now they've come back for these 3 lots there on 27th. It is zoned currently general commercial, heavy commercial, as you can see some of the properties to the north of there. But you also see some residential in that area as well. This is kind of a mixed-use development area. This is District 4, Mr. Patrick Keeley in the Reagan neighborhood. So we did send out 30 notices, did receive lots in favor. I know this has been looked at as residential in the past, and we believe that's the reason why they're ready for something to move forward there. Anytime you add more residences, it can be a positive for that little portion of the neighborhood. Some of the site plan that they're doing, you can see the small house that they're going to put on each one of the lots, where they have the sewer easement to allow this to move forward. They'd still have the driveway there onto the 27th Street. Again, this is a conditional use for household living. Again, we recommend approval for that, and we have placed on the conditions just to generally follow the single-family residential setbacks, and the applicant apply for the required permits and inspections. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Aaron or staff? Okay, so I'll go ahead and open up public comment.
The applicant is here if you have any questions.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for the applicant? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment then and open it up for discussion or motion.
Make a motion to approve as presented by staff.
Second.
Okay, have a motion by Brittany and a second by Candy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Moving on to CU 2514, 6, 8, and 10 East 28th Street. A request for conditional use to allow household living in general commercial, heavy commercial, CGCH zoning district. Ray.
Good morning, Ray Lineberry, lead planner. Again, this is a request for residential living in a commercial zone. It is zoned general commercial, heavy commercial. District 4, Patrick Keeley, Reagan neighborhood. As you notice, this might look a little familiar. We just had a rezoning case with these 3 lots right here to change it to general commercial instead of the CGCH. And now we are talking about these 3 lots back here. They would like to build houses on them. We did mail out 27 notices. We received 1 in favor. And I do believe we received 1 in opposition over the weekend. And I'm trying to remember which one it was. I want to say it was over here. But they did not say why, they just checked the box. So with that, staff is recommending approval with the conditions that they do the single-family residential setbacks and obtain any building permits within 12 months. We did not receive a site plan as of yet. The applicants are still working on what will fit. There is a possibility that 1 lot right here, the closest one, might need a variance. They're looking to see what would fit. It's just a tiny bit smaller. I think it's like 48 feet instead of 50 feet. So I do not have a floor plan to show you, but they are working on it.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Ray? All right.
Well, the other properties on 27th Street, that was some residences.
Yes, there are residences over here. These are residences. Okay. Actually, this one is, I want to say this one's a house also. And then across the street.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead and open up public comment if there is any.
Sarah Schultz. Oh, no, I'm sorry, wait a minute, that's the wrong one. No, we have no public comment.
Okay, so we'll close public comment and open it up for discussion or a motion.
Make a
Motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion by Liz and second by Candy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Next case is CU 2515, 2321 Armstrong Street. A request for approval of a conditional use permit to allow a church to construct a new building for youth services in an area adjacent to their main building located at 2321 Armstrong Street. Austin.
Thank you. Austin Reed, Senior Planner. This one comes to you out of the Reagan neighborhood. It is District Number 4, Patrick Keeley's district. The vision plan for this is Neighborhood Center. It is about 0.16 acres, and as you mentioned, we have a request for conditional use for a church youth building. I will specify the area of the conditional use is just this red box. Some of the maps on the next couple pages are going to show a bigger red box. That's because it's technically one property right now. So we sent out 15 notices, did not receive any support. We received 1 who was opposed, and I don't think they listed any reasoning. And then here's a look at the zoning map. As you can see, it's pretty much just all RS1. So on to our staff analysis. This entire block face is actually owned by the church, and it more or less functions as part of the church right now. They are now looking to expand with the church youth group building, which it's on their property, but it's technically a separately platted lot, so we have to get the land use permitted through this conditional use. We don't think that allowing as much would negatively impact the neighboring property because it's not really a large change for the area, and it is sort of a lower intensity, and there should be no adverse effects on the natural environment either. You just look at their concept site plan. As you can see, it's kind of next to what I guess is their parsonage building, and they are installing the new parking required for the building. I think the building's about 2,400 square feet. So with that, we are recommending approval subject to 3 conditions. First one being for all the necessary building permits. Second one being for the installation and maintenance of privacy screening where necessary. And then number 3 being that they shield downward any exterior lighting. Do you guys have any questions?
Do you have any questions for staff? All right, thank you, Austin.
Thanks.
We'll open up public comment. Okay. We'll close public comment and open up for discussion or a motion.
A motion to approve is presented by staff.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Brittany and second by Lyndon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. And we'll move to
Before we move that, can I just ask city staff a question? Am I allowed to do that, Brandon? Okay. So we've seen a lot of conditional use cases today that we're doing household living in. I mean, I understand commercial neighborhood, but in some of these heavier zoning districts. Again, my question to the staff is, I understand that I'm not for slowing anyone's progress down by any means, but we've been working really hard cleaning up some zoning areas and making them make sense with what's around them. And is there a specific reason why the staff did not, other than just it would take 3 months for the staff to not require those, like that neighborhood to be rezoned? Or are we going to look at saying, okay, there's on this block we've got 15 residences, a couple vacant lots, and 1 commercial. Let's, as a staff, go ahead and rezone this. Is there a reason why we're not doing that?
Not specifically, no. We do look at that at each one of our applications that come in and what makes sense. Now, a couple of these happen to be within the North Tiers District.
Right.
And of course, one of those went through a rezoning and partially downgraded the zoning in some of the area.
Right.
I do think that is something that we should be considering of how do we do that, but make it effective and make sure that we're still trying to protect our neighborhoods. What are our real corridors? Because as many of y'all know, there's, in our 2000 zoning ordinance, it really kind of just did some broad stripes around corridors, and that didn't always connect the dots correctly with some properties. So we are evaluating those areas. I would say on these, we just have not had enough time to evaluate if we need to come back with a comprehensive area. The one on Avenue O was, here's 2 lots. Does it make sense to come back for a full rezoning for these 2 lots and those kind of things? I mean, I think maybe in the future, possibly. But I think that may be to a bigger thing that I'll talk about maybe in the director's report.
Okay. Well, and just on a side note, on some lending guidelines, when you have residential in a heavy commercial zoning, it can pose some challenges on the lending aspect. Yes. On an FHA and a VA loan. A lot of the time, if it's an older and existing home, just in the sole fact that it hasn't been utilized as a commercial entity. So it might not on some of these new builds, because you do have the builder's permit and a certificate of occupancy issued by the city, but that is going to pose potentially some issues down the line in some of these areas that we're allowing those mixed zonings.
Yes.
So that's all I have.
All right. Moving on to rezoning and comprehensive plan amendments, City Council has final authority for approval of rezonings and amendments to the comprehensive plan. First case is Z2520, Jackson and Van Buren. A request for approval of a zone change from RS1, single-family residential, to RM1, low-rise multifamily residential for the property located at 611 North Jackson and 610 North Van Buren. Ray?
Good morning, Ray Lineberry, lead planner. And for the final case, we have a rezoning It is 610 North Van Buren and 611 North Jackson. It is .109 acres and .075 acres. The request is to rezone from RS1 to RM1. RM1 would allow a zero lot line single-family home without a variance request. As you can see, the lots are a little bit smaller and/or at an angle. So it would allow a single-family home to go there without any variance requests. District 4, Patrick Keeley in the central neighborhood. This is the vision plan, is neighborhood, and it is zoned RS1. So changing it to RM1, it'll be right along the frontage road. This is the layout for Van Buren, the home that they have planned. As you notice, like I said, zero lot line right along the property there. The driveway will be off of the alley, and then it will front Van Buren. And then Jackson, again, the driveway will be off of the alleyway, it'll front Jackson, and it'll be a zero lot line home on the lot line closest to the frontage road. We mailed out 16 notices. We did receive one in opposition. They did not want an RM1. They mentioned they wanted a neighborhood, not rental properties. So it will allow for the development of currently vacant lots. Those have been vacant for quite a while. The TxDOT kind of made them a weird shape, weird angle when they used some of the right-of-way for the frontage road. So we feel this will meet the development pattern of the residential area, and it'll allow them to meet all the setbacks that are required without any variances. So the proposed zoning, while normally is multifamily, it is using it for the zero lot line, single family. So with that, staff is recommending approval for both those lots to be rezoned as RM1.
What is allowed, other than the zero lot line, I guess as far as elevation in the RM1 zoning? Is it 2-story
It is 2-story.
and no more?
Correct. All of our residential zoning allows 2.5 stories or 35 feet in height.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions for staff? All right, thank you, Ray. We have public comment.
Now we have Sarah Schultz.
It sounds like it's going to get approved whether I like it or not, but I'll go ahead and. Sarah Schultz, I'm a resident on 624 North Jackson. The questions that I have, especially with the zero lot line, is there going to be a wall along there, or is the house just going to sit up next to the curb?
So there still is a standard setback, even though it's a zero lot line, it just allows the builder, in this case, to move the home a little more forward on the lot. So,
Okay.
And then it's gonna be on the side. So if we're looking at Shiloh, the exterior of the residence is going to be on that property line.
Is there a 5-foot minimum setback on the side still?
With the zero lot line, they can be right on the property line. So it's going to be on this property line over here. There's still, I want to say about 8 feet of right-of-way between the curb and the property line.
So there's not going to be a wall, but there's going to be a house wall.
Correct.
Okay. So if I come out of Jackson Street and try to turn onto Shiloh, am I going to be able to see around that house?
Yes, ma'am, you
Yes.
still have a roughly 8-foot sightline visibility.
Okay. My biggest concern is I don't know who's going to own these houses. I know who's building them, but I don't know what the plan is. I don't know if they're going to be HUD houses or if they're going to be rental houses. I wouldn't be opposed if 2 families come in and buy those houses. That would fit more with the neighborhood. but we already have so much rental property around there, which really lowers the value of my house, which is good for tax purposes, but I would really rather have somebody that is actually going to be a part of the neighborhood, not somebody that's moving in and out all the time. I think you said that it could not be more than 2 stories.
2.5.
But these are planned to be just a single story, I assume?
Yes.
Okay.
Ray, are you sure? Because of how narrow that lot is. Are you sure it's not bedrooms on the secondary?
I mean, that's not something we can control as part of the zoning
Right,
anyways.
right.
We can't hold them to anything
Yeah, I just
today.
didn't know if he submitted plans with it.
Well, I got a copy of the plans, but I can't tell if it's 2-story or not.
I'm going to say, I believe, could be wrong, but that's pretty narrow.
That is narrow. I would imagine that's probably 2-story as well.
Okay.
But he also has 1,200 square foot over off Garfield too, so I mean, very well could be a 2-2, so.
Is
Not here,
the-
there, nor there, but
Will the alleyway be improved in any way for those driveways? I mean, the alley's not very large.
That would be something that our Public Works would advise once they apply for their building permits. Usually, I'm not gonna speak for them, but usually they would require improvement of the alleyway. And I know the developer is aware of that. So
Okay.
I believe that's their plan, but I'm not 100% sure, but that's usually something when the permit comes across, they would be required. It's nothing to do with the zoning. We could not condition the zoning on anything.
Okay.
And so any of these development questions, staff are happy to answer after this if there's further development questions.
Okay, are they gonna be able to go out either end of the alley? Are they
I
gonna
would
be
say
able-
just like today, it would function, an alley would function the same way as it is today.
Okay, but there's no traffic in it right now. But
Correct.
if
So
somebody
people could
lives
come.
there, they're gonna be able to go out either way.
Yeah, we would not be able to put a regulation on that.
Okay. I'm opposed just mainly because I don't want more rent property. And I know that another gentleman is here, but he didn't get a chance to sign up to speak. But he went through the neighborhood and got people to sign a petition. I don't know how many you got signed
21.
that were against or for.
We're against, or we're opposed to this new rezoning structure. And also on.
We need to,
Yeah, you'll have to come up
yeah,
to the
we
front.
have to come up, but
and
the
you'll have-
chair has to allow that if it's not set up, so.
Yeah. Go
It affects
ahead.
his
If you would,
property more than mine.
if you would
Sorry about that.
state your
My
name
name's
and your
Luke-
address.
Luke Reed. I'm operating on behalf of the property owner of 615 North Jackson. And on that, I don't know how, but 611 is encroaching on the 615 property line there on the map itself.
Yeah, that's, it looks like that, I guess, in the overhead view. I mean, obviously, that's not a survey, but that's
No.
something that's gonna have to be resolved, obviously, before they can do anything on that property.
Again, that will be through the building permit process for the site plan review to go through. This is, again, just a rezoning to determine if that's the right zoning for the property. Currently, they've been vacant for quite a while, and this is one option to get them to have some occupancy on those properties.
Right.
But if you physically go out and check out the properties, you can see where it's just so narrow. I can only see it expanding upwards. And evidently, if you're locked out at 2 stories, I don't think it's even a good idea to start building out there.
Yeah.
Also in opposition, to make that clear.
So do you own 615 or you?
My father does,
Okay,
for Bulldog Development in
Okay.
Mojo Verde.
okay.
And there's also a brand-new family, a family who lives at 615 who just had a new child. You know, I don't want to have construction literally right next to them.
So
up
are
to
they
their fence.
renting?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank y'all for being here.
What could I do with my signatures?
You can just,
You can leave them here on the table.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Do we have any other public comment, Ray?
No.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and close public comment. Does anybody have any questions for staff or?
I mean, I think just addressing the public, and thank you both for being here. You know, obviously, development's a huge part of the city and taxable revenue, and that's not the only thing that we look at. We definitely look at, you know, the components of a neighborhood, and although our decisions up here can seem quite quick, you know, we do get all this information prior to this. A lot of us drive by the sites, make sure things look right and make sense before we actually sit down today and make these decisions. With that being said, you know, the builder or the developer, you know, we can't control after the fact if he decides to sell it to an investor to rent it, or if he sells it to a nice, sweet couple. You know, that unfortunately is out of our control. We can only look at the here and now on the lot and what the intended purpose is, and does that make sense within the neighborhood. And, you know, in general, when bringing in new construction into an existing neighborhood tends to increase property value across the board, because once there's new structures, a lot of the time it will have, you know, other people will take more pride in their lawn or paint their exterior, and it really does help in general improve a neighborhood. So with that being said, I am going to vote on this and vote in favor of the staff.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve as presented. Is there any discussion or a second?
A second.
Okay, so a motion by Brittany, second by Liz. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, passes 5-0. All right, so that was our last case for the day, and that will move on to Planning Director's report.
Thank you, Chairman, and I'll try to be very brief. Just wanted to mention a couple of things that we have actually had some promotions within our planning department. As you heard Ray mention, she is our lead planner, and so she has been promoted to that from senior planner. Austin Reed has also been promoted from a planner to a senior planner. And then Karen Putnam is no longer a planning tech. She has now been promoted to a full planner. So we're very excited about them. And of course, we still have Arden, who's 8 weeks, 9 weeks, something like that. So we're very excited that Arden's with us as a planning tech. We also will be having a planning intern this fall that will help us with some of these things that Ms. Davis was talking about how can we get some things cleaned up and really evaluating some of our mapping and some things like that. The last thing I want to mention is that it does appear the City Council is moving forward with funding for a comprehensive plan update, which is very needed. As y'all know, our comprehensive plan is from 2003, has had some minor updates, but I think that's going to give this Planning Commission as well as our community the opportunity to say, what do we want to be in 2050? Where do we want our community to grow and how? What type of housing do we need? What type of transportation systems do we need? Do we need all the roadways classified the way they are today, or do we need to change some of those classifications? How is our land development and subdivision ordinance working? Is it working the way that developers need it to keep affordability? Is it still maintaining what the city needs to do for services, for infrastructure? Those types of things. So we're very excited about that. It'll take us about 18 months to get through that process. We will have multiple town halls in multiple neighborhoods throughout the city. We will have planning commissioners involved with that. We will be asking City Council to put together a steering committee to work with the consultants that ultimately will help us work through this process. And so just wanted to say we're very excited about that as city staff, trying to help figure out what is San Angelo going to be in 25 years is really important. We got to make sure that we get it right, focused on financial accountability, focused on what does our community really want. So we're very excited about that. So with that, I don't have anything else, Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Aaron. And congratulations to everybody.
Thank you,
on
guys.
your promotion.
You guys have all been working very hard. We appreciate you.
The next regular meeting of the Planning Commission is scheduled to begin on Monday, September 15th at 9 a.m. in this room right here. So with that, I think that's all of our business, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.